Okay, so this is a vlog. I've never done this before. It's slightly weird. I feel a bit uncomfortable, but I'm going to do it anyway. I did have like a setup over there to do the ironing at the same time, but it's just too weird. I can't get over it. But anyway, the point of the vlog is I basically have been doing these day in the life of a pilot videos on Instagram, and I just feel like they're just a bit, I can't really say that much because they're only a minute long, and I find that I can't really add much value. Obviously, it's kind of the way Instagram works, and I keep seeing and researching a lot about things. And I follow someone called Grace Andrews, who used to be at the Diary of the CEO, and everyone's just talking about long form content being the next kind of thing. It's kind of going backwards. Our brains are fried with all this short form TikTok content, so now we're going more long form again. And I feel like I probably missed the wave initially when all the vloggers came out on YouTube, because it's just not my thing. And now I feel like there's a second wave probably coming, and as well as I think I can add a lot of value, I think when I was younger, I loved watching pilot videos, and there wasn't really a lot of videos around. I wanted to, I was born in 96, I'm 29, I'm not old, but I was probably looking at videos in 2008 and 9, and no one was really doing content about pilot stuff because I guess iPhones weren't massive, people just weren't really doing it, right? So I guess I'm making content that I wish I would have been able to see, which would have helped and motivated me along my journey and made it feel more accessible to me. Obviously, my own experience of ever trying to become a pilot was when you go on holiday and you speak to the pilots and you go, oh, how did you become a pilot? And a lot of the time they'll be mid-50s, which is nothing wrong with that, by the way. That's like my parents, right? And they'd say, oh, study maths, physics, go into the military and blah, blah. And I'd be like, I don't know about this, man. So I just think, I'm 29, I've been flying for 10 years this year. I started in 2016 at EasyJet. I've been a captain for 2 years now. I'm short haul, currently in the UK, for a UK airline, out of Gatwick. And I feel like I just want to help people out, which is helping younger me out, I guess, not in a cringy way. But yeah, anyway, here we go. So a lot of you wanted to see more in depth a day in the life, a week in the life of an airline pilot. So we're at the start of my week now. Let me look at my roster. This is something you never want to see, by the way. Schedule changes. But it's actually because I'm on standby tomorrow. I'll explain a bit more. But looking at my roster, so currently I'm on a fixed pattern roster, which is actually amazing for lifestyle. So normally we work 5 days on, we have 3 days off, work 5 days, have 4 days off. You get the idea. And then every so often it's 2 days off. I think once every 9 weeks or something. Plus it's a little bit more complicated. There's rest days, which are working days, but it can only be used at certain times. Yeah, and you have certain notice periods. If you're new to aviation, you'll know there's so many rules and there's so many manuals. Our scheduling agreement is about 20 pages long, so obviously you always have to just look things up, which is amazing when you have an iPad, right? So let me go back to what I've been doing this year. So we are January 26. I had a lot of time off over Christmas, which has been really nice, but I worked a 5-day block at the end of December, so it was a standby, an airport standby, which means you do your standby at the airport. Then I had a Graz in Austria, started at 6 o'clock in the morning. I like doing earlies. And then I had a standby which changed to a late Verona, starting at 2:30 in the afternoon, finishing at 9 o'clock in the evening. And then my Friday was meant to be an early Lyon, but because we need 12 hours minimum rest, it changed to a rest day. So now I've had a rest day, day off, day off, day off. How many days are off? 3 days off and a rest day. So basically I've had 4 days off. Today I was on a standby, which I survived. Wintertime, you survive a lot of standbys. the nature of a vlog like this is pretty, what's the word? Scrappy. So my wife just walked in and now she's laughing. Anyway, so I've had a standby today, which has survived. I've got a standby tomorrow, and then I have a Faro, and then I have a day off and a Leon. But I only have a day off because I managed to swap off a flight because I needed the time off basically for childcare. So I owe someone a favour. But the really good thing is at the airline I work for, we can like swap duties with other people. It's very flexible. Well, obviously it helps out massively when you've got kids. My wife works part-time. We've got a 15-month-old. So you can swap off things and it just makes it so much easier for life. So this week I'm preparing for tomorrow a standby at 6:15 in the morning, and then a Faro, and then I've got a day off and then a Leon. So it's like a lovely week. And then I've got 3 days off and then back into a block of 5, which is a Marrakesh, Grenoble, an available day, which can change to a flight, Geneva, Turin, and then 3 days off, 5 on, 4 days off. So it's a lovely month, by the way. Like January is a lovely month for flying. Summertime gets obviously very busy. But yeah, so let me show you how I prepare for my week. Preparing for my week. So tomorrow I have a standby, which starts at 6:15 in the morning. It's a home standby. That means that if I need to be at Gatwick Airport. I have a 2-hour standby call out time. So that would mean I need to report at 8:15 for a kind of a 9:15 flight. So 6:15, 8:15, 9:15 takeoff. But of course, if a morning flight's been delayed, then I might get called for something else. So having a little look at the flights, just at Gatwick departures, let me have a little look at where I could possibly end up tomorrow. And the reason why standbys is probably the least favourite duties, because if you have children, it's quite hard to plan. So for example, my wife works part-time. Tomorrow she can't work because I'm on standby and I could basically do anything. But also it might be one of those days where I don't get called, and then it's kind of like, oh, well, you could have gone to work. Yeah, it's just kind of hard to plan for. I'm quite particular on the food I eat. I try and keep in a healthy shape. So again, it's just hard to plan. I don't know if I'm going to need breakfast, lunch, dinner, that kind of stuff. So I generally have frozen meals that I prepare. Anyway, let's have a little look at Gatwick departures for the airline I work for and have a look at what I could potentially end up doing if something's delayed. So the morning flights, Jersey, Malaga, a Marrakesh, Graz, Faro, Rabat, Verona, Arrecife, Sharm, Algiers, Tenerife, Alicante, Larnaca, Malta, Geneva, Gran Canaria. That's the morning wave, basically. Just looking at Gatwick departures for my airline. So I could end up in any of those places, right? Now, the afternoon flights as well. So even though it's a morning standby, you can get called for afternoon flights. So we have very strict duty time limit periods. What's the word? FDPs. God, what is it even? I can't even remember what that stands for, to be honest. But we have max FDPs that we can work for. So basically a 2 sector day, off the top of my mind, if you report after 6, you can work for like 13 hours. So that takes you to 7 o'clock in the evening. But with standby, the rules change. The rules are quite complicated. But effectively, the first 6 hours of your standby don't count towards your max FDP time. So it kind of means that tomorrow I could, even though my standby starts at 6:15 in the morning, 18 hours on that is the latest time I could finish if I did a 2 sets a day starting within a period of time. It basically means you can do anything up to kind of like 18 hours. Because obviously if you're at home and you haven't been called, the time counts as rest, pretty much. And it gets more confusing than that. So if you have an early standby and you start at like 3 o'clock in the morning but don't get called till 7, it assumes that you've slept between that time period. And look, it gets completely complex. The good thing about aviation is if you're going to be more awake by more than 18 hours, that's the CAA's kind of definition, requirement, whatever you want to call it, regulation, then you have to make sure you're alert at all times. So if you're not going to, so for example, if I wake up tomorrow at 6:15 and I'm doing a delayed flight or something that's going to get back at 4 o'clock in the morning, it might be legal to do that. But if I feel like I might be tired or fatigued during that duty and it'll affect the safety of the flight, I can call fatigued for the airline. I'll fill out a report for it and there'll be no questions asked. So aviation's amazing for that, right? It's a reporting culture, it's a safety culture, there's no pressure, no questions asked, fine. Anyway, talking about that, it basically means I can do afternoon flights as well tomorrow because I'm on my home standby. So the afternoon wave for the airline I work for, just looking at Gatwick departures, is a Tenerife, Marrakesh, Malaga, Faro, Porto, Turin, Jersey. So basically tomorrow I could end up in like the south of Europe, Spain area, Canaries, down to Egypt, Cyprus. So what I like to do is the night before is just generally have a little look at a weather chart and know what's roughly going on. So I can't show you any company charts, information. This is just purely like the Met Office weather charts, right? So what are we on tomorrow? Wednesday the 7th of January. So what would I look at? Midday. Okay, cool. So let's have a little look at this. How do you put this in the... As you can see, the UK, there's a few like triangles, half circles, a few lines, a little swirl, and then Europe looks kind of like big space in the isobars, and then there's another like squiggly line and a black line. From this picture, I can basically gather that overnight there's probably going to be a front of rain, maybe a little bit windy, pushing through the UK, and tomorrow there probably is a little bit of rain around, and then there's like another bit of low pressure and weather, the south of Italy, and then there's a little trough lined by Cyprus, and then yeah. So what does that mean? Well, if I fly out of Gatwick, it might be raining, it might be a little bit windy. That's just my rough picture in my mind. If we go down to Spain, Faro, Tenerife, again, there might be a lot of like cloud, rain. It's probably not going to be that windy on the south of France, Spain or Portugal, because the isobars are massive apart. So you're just looking at kind of rain, maybe a few CBs around, which clouds we generally avoid. That's Spain. And then if we go to Canaries, there's another bit of high pressure. So it'll probably be good weather in the Canaries, right? And then if we head down to Italy, the south of Italy, so Catania, I don't think that's an airport I said, but you've got Malta down there, possibly a few rain showers passing through there, and then Egypt's looking fine as well. So big picture is UK's rainy, Spain might be rainy, but probably more showery rain. But generally Europe is kind of like relatively high pressure. The weather, wouldn't really expect it to be any problems. Looking as the week goes by, so Friday at midnight, have a little look at how the weather chart has changed here. So as you can see, the UK has round circles, they're pretty tight together. That is like a front, that's a low pressure system coming in. As you can see, the low is at 971 hectopascals. So it basically means Friday night, there's almost like a mini storm moving through. So possibly Friday morning might be windy. So I think I'm off on Friday anyway, so that's fine. So generally, the weather's not that concerning. It's just kind of what I expect this time of year, really. And that's what I do normally at the start of the week, just to give myself a rough idea of what's happening in Europe, really. So I told you about the week ahead, basically. The weather's looking okay. Now, obviously I've got a standby tomorrow, so I don't have a flight to look at. The night before a flight, I would normally just have a little look at the flight, just at the information, just to know what to expect, and then I'll go in the next day, a more in-depth look, basically. But let's just assume I get called tomorrow off standby to go to Malaga in the morning. So I can't show you any of this on my iPad because it's company confidential information. It's nothing that you can't find online, like weather charts and routes and stuff like that. But I guess these are just the rules, right? So first of all, I make sure my iPad the night before is up to date as well. So we have loads of apps for aircraft performance, flight plans, like charts for the airport, like document library, the iPad software in general. So I make sure that's up to date, especially if I've had like 4 days off. My iPad's got to be fully charged for tomorrow. And we also have a power bank, which has to be 75% charged as well as a backup. Again, these are just regulations. So that's the prep I'll do for my iPad. And then looking at tomorrow, so say if we go down to Malaga, I'm just going to look at that big picture, which is kind of what I spoke to you about. So how I normally start looking at any flight plan or brief is I work from big to small. Again, there's no certain way to do this, but it's kind of the way we've been taught through training. Look at the big picture, small picture, and it will kind of explain itself, because if you look at the big picture, you roughly know what to expect. And then when you go into the smaller picture, there's a lot of detail, but you can filter through quite a lot of it, for example. So tomorrow going down to Malaga, it looks like there's a jet stream, which would be a nice tailwind going down, but there might be a little bit of turbulence. And then obviously there's going to be a headwind going back to Gatwick. So with already thinking it's quick going down and it's a lot longer going on the way back. So straight away in my mind, we're thinking we need to be good on the turnaround in Malaga, because we need to leave on time in Malaga to basically get an on-time arrival back into Gatwick, because we're going to be up against the flight time basically. So that's kind of the weather, right? There might be a little bit of turbulence. Obviously, we'll brief the crew, let the passengers know, and we also cover the seatbelt policy every single time we do a welcome aboard announcement as well. So the seatbelt sign's on, you remain seated, seatbelt fastened. That's big picture, 6 o'clock in the morning. Does it change throughout the day? Yeah, it moves to the east, basically, the weather system. So on the way back, we're not looking like we're in the turbulence zone, so it should be pretty smooth on the way home. Lower down stuff, cloud-wise, as I said, there's a few showers possibly moving in tomorrow morning, looking at that big picture. Same with the small picture here. In the afternoon, the weather's kind of swirled around, head up to the east, and it's going to be fine. So that's the big stuff. Weather looks good, possible light turbulence on the way down. But it's a quick flight time, so take the turbulence and we've got a short flight time. Then the other big threat is terrain. So we have this chart that basically has the wind and terrain on it. And it looks like the terrain is low, because obviously we're leaving the UK, there's not many mountains, not many hills, it doesn't go above 1,000 feet. Then we go over the channel, we clip Normandy, and then down over the Bay of Biscay, which is the sea, right, it's the Atlantic. And then we get to northern coast of Spain, and the terrain goes up pretty much over Madrid. From flying to Madrid, it probably goes up to 10,000, well, probably 8,000 feet. And then there's a bit of terrain around Malaga, there's a few mountains. So looking at this chart, it goes up to about 8. So we know if anything happens and we need to descend down to 10,000 feet, if we have a cabin pressurization issue, it's absolutely fine, right? So terrain's not a problem either tomorrow. If I'm going to Malaga, hopefully I survive my standby and go to Sainsbury's instead. Then we look at any SIGMET, so any significant weather en route. And it says no data available, but I'd assume there's probably not going to be tomorrow, but it'll refresh tomorrow morning basically. That's the big things. Then we go into specific aerodrome weather. So first of all, I look at Gatwick. So from the big picture, I think there's probably going to be a bit of rain, maybe slightly windy. So I go on to Gatwick's weather. Again, you can get apps for this sort of stuff. Airports is an amazing app that will give you the airport's current weather and NOTAMs, as well as runways, approaches available, that kind of stuff. I use that regularly. I also use on my phone Rain Viewer, which shows the current rain and weather like it's a screenshot from a satellite. I also have an app called Lightning. Lightning just shows where the recent lightning strikes have been, which is quite good to know if there's thunderstorms around. They're the probably 3 main ones I use. You have paid ones such as Windy and that kind of stuff, but I just use the free ones. Anyway, so Gatwick, bless you. Gatwick, from tonight, this is from the TAF, from 11 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the morning, it's going to be heavy, prob 30, so there's a 30% possibility it'll be heavy rain and low cloud. And then from 9 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so pretty much all day, we've got a prob 30 tempo, which means there's a 30% probability at some point there will be a winds of 250, 15, gusting 25, which is quite a strong wind. But Gatwick's runway is pretty much 260, so it's straight down the runway, so no problems at all. While we're at Gatwick's weather, we look at the NOTAMs, which is notice to airmen, and it will just say if there's taxiway shuts, light shuts, blah, 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 light shuts, lights not working, that kind of stuff. Normally there's a lot of stuff, right? But you're kind of looking for the main things. What runways are available? Where can I taxi? And what stands are available, right? If there's anything like massive or big works going on, we generally get emails as well. The charts will update to show the work going on, that kind of stuff. Right, then we look at our destination, Malaga. Well, tomorrow actually looks quite nice. The forecast hasn't fully published yet, but at the moment it's 8 degrees with a southerly breeze of 12 knots, fine. And for tomorrow they're predicting the wind to be at 300 at 12 knots, cav okay. So nice day, no worries, and 12 knots of wind. Because I've been to Malaga about 1 million times, they use runway 31 down there, which is an approach that comes over a mountain, and then you go over the sea, you descend over the sea, and then inwards to the runway. It's super easy. Probably the runway I prefer at Malaga, so no issues. Then we look at the NOTAMs. Again, this is information you can find on the internet, like it's publicly available for anyone. So RVR runway 30 US. So these are like the big ones, but RVR, we never use that. So runway visual range down in Malaga, we're not expecting low visibility conditions. It's not a problem, right? And then there's not much else really in Malaga. Then we look at our alternates. So Jerez would be an alternate, or anywhere near like Seville or Granada or even Madrid. They'll look good. No problems there. So next we'll go into if there are any crew alerts or bulletins, so specific information that's kind of current at the moment. So it might be down to closed airspace down in places like Ukraine or Israel. Not that we're even going that way, but these are just generic sheet of loads of information basically. And often they'll also have safety topics that are coming up at the current time. So it's just a sheet that's really useful information. But again, it doesn't change that often. So it's still the same as the last time I flew, but it does say the current version software we use for our takeoff and landing performance, and that's changed. So I now know I need to go and update that before tomorrow, basically. I would have checked anyway, but anyway, there we go. Then generally look at whether the aircraft's got any defects. So for that flight, there's no defects. And the only reason we kind of check it there is because sometimes a defect might affect our fuel decision, which then comes onto our flight plan. And yeah, the plane looks good. And then you go into your flight plan. So you're mainly just checking that it's correct, basically. The right aircraft, right date, right flight number to the right place. You check all of your weights, make sure they're obviously within the max weights. This is kind of generic stuff. You're looking at how many passengers you've got on board. Just an understanding of your day out. How quick's the turnaround going to be? How quick's boarding going to be? Is weight, the weight limitations of the aircraft going to be a problem? that might all affect your fuel decision. So again, tomorrow, not an issue. Malaga's a 2.5 hour flight, right? And then so once you checked your flight plan, it has all your fuel, so your taxi fuel, trip fuel, contingency fuel, alternate fuel, final reserve, the required fuel you have, and then any extra you might want to take. And this fuel decision then comes down to the crew and the captain, basically. And then you go on to your fuel decision once you've looked at that. So the night before, I'm already thinking, if I get called for Malaga tomorrow, look, it looks like a good day. It's going to be about 2 hours, 15 going down, 2 hours, 40 coming back. And we're not that busy. There's no real issues. The plane looks good. Like, the day looks fine. So I'll go to bed in the morning. I now know that it seems like a kind of a standard day out to Malaga. I'm not going to have to give myself a crazy amount of extra time to get to work. I don't need to like look at anything, right? So I guess, what do I mean by that? Well, say if we're going down to like Austria tomorrow and it's -10 and they're predicting freezing fog or heavy snow, the night before I might be like, wow, I haven't flown in these conditions for a while. Let me have a little look at the manuals and remind myself what I might need to do. There are loads of different procedures we need to do. We might have to do cold weather corrections. We'll have to do an engine run-up. We might have to de-ice and anti-ice the aircraft. That then means we have to record it in the TET log. And all these things then come onto your workload. And then I might be like, okay, the night before I need to do a bit of reading, or I might be like, tomorrow morning I need to give myself an extra hour to make sure I'm up to scratch, the latest stuff, make sure I know what I'm doing, and it's not going to cause basically delays, right? So that is basically everything we do, or I do the night before. So if I get called for Malaga tomorrow, it'll be a nice day out, and yeah, it'll be my probably 40th time going down to Malaga as an ex-EasyJet pilot. Okay, final video for my prep. So iPad's charged, software updated, looked at the flight plan, uniforms ironed, sorted out. Actually it isn't, I've got to do that. Next thing, I just check my bag, make sure I've got everything and it's prepared for the morning. Because when I wake up in the morning, one, we've got a baby, so I don't wake the baby up. So I literally like dress myself in the dark and do everything in the dark. And it only takes me 20 minutes to have a shower and to leave the house, so I don't have breakfast. I just have a bit of jet bean coffee. So I have to make sure the night before I am prepared, basically. So let me have a little look at, this is what I carry in my flight bag, right? And I haven't been in my flight bag I haven't been through it for quite a while, so I probably need to throw some things away, but let me see. Anyway, right, a notebook. Always good if you need a bit of paper last minute. It says EasyJet 2016. It's just notes I've made of like important things. I don't know why I even keep it in my bag. Like the first page is, I used to use this for my Sims. I just feel like one day I might need to, I don't know. It just provides me comfort, I guess. And it's always good, there's a bit of paper left here. So if I ever need paper, right. A load sheet from the last time I went flying, don't need that. A paintbrush. So we have these on board the aircraft as well, but I keep one in my bag just in case there isn't. But we use it to dust off our screens. So sometimes the screens get dusty, and if you don't have a wipe or something, you can just literally dust off the screens, and it doesn't like obviously make it wet or whatever. Anyway, strange, right? Bit of moisturiser, Kills moisturiser, free sample. My AirPods, I literally have been looking for them, and that's where they are. I don't even know why they're in there. Another load sheet. Okay, I probably haven't been through this for a while. This thing, I got this free in a hotel when I was on holiday. It has like an iPhone charger in it, adapters, a SIM card thingy, and it's like the most useful thing ever. A pen. Let's count how many pens I got. Another pen, 2 pens. Oh, 3 pens. So, and I wear a pen on my shirt. So that's 4 pens. Another load sheet message, bit of rubbish. My wallet. Again, I never use this because I use Apple Pay. So it's good to have in my flight bag. An old bit of paper with RVR minimums I once used in the sim. I'm going to throw that away. It's probably good that I'm sorting this out, to be fair. Oh, I've just pricked my finger with an old name badge. Oh, yeah, a spare name badge. That is not good. Ouch. That's all in that pocket. Then, next pocket, passport. I've got an Austrian passport. I'm also an Austrian citizen. It's good to have 2 nationalities, I guess. My license and medical, which is what that looked in. God, so much time and money's gone into this little book. Unbelievable. And then, contact list. We have it on our iPad. I don't know why I've got one printed out. This is like my important pocket. This is a sheet of, again, it's like from 10 years ago. Pricked myself. EasyJet times, but from an amazing training captain back when I started, of just like the most useful information that you just might need one day, like, and again, it's probably completely out of date, so I'd never use it, but just good memories. Keeping it in my flight bag. Literally a sheet of times from a flight, and they faded. I think it would have been like a flight where I flew someone I knew. Oh, it's from my final line check, because I've just seen the FO's details on it. The final line check as a captain 2 years ago, and this was the sheet that had all the times on it, but the times are faded now. But anyway, I'm going to keep that. That's got to be good. My British passport, a wire, USB-C wire. I wonder how many of them are in my bag. Okay, I've got like tons of Jet Bean key rings because people ask for them, and I want better coffee on planes. Carry my watch. My granddad bought me my watch, and he died. And it's not an expensive watch. It's just like a Daniel Wellington watch. It doesn't even work, but he paid for my type rating, and I said I'll pay him back. And then he died, and I hadn't fully paid him back. So he was always rooting for me. So I've left the watch he bought me in my bag, and I just feel like it's, I don't know. Funny things humans do, right? It's not like you need luck or whatever, but, and then I also have, my dad bought me a lucky pig one New Year from Austria. I just put it in my bag, and trust me, it's not all luck, right? Maybe that's why I get lucky, because I carry all these things. Right, next compartment, bag of nuts, some chewing gum, it's good to have. Travel thing, like plug, so useful, right? Just in case you get stuck somewhere. Another travel plug. My sunglasses, my torch case, because my torch broke. I'm gonna throw that. Another USB-C cable, that's 2 now. 2 USB-C cables and 4 pens. Chewing gum. What? Another chewing gum. They're fresh. Right, that's all that pocket. Then I've got one more pocket, which is the last pocket. Right, my lunchbox still from my last blocks of flying. I'll refill that. a high vis, good to have, but they're on all the aircraft as well, so you don't necessarily need it. Oh no, what the hell's... Ooh, okay, I'm not even going to tell you what's in the bottom of that. That is really rank. George, there's like a mouldy banana skin in my bag. Like, that is rank. I guess this video is real, right? That is horrible. That needs to go. I'm glad I've done this, but wow. I got a couple of books, The Lessons of History, and Awareness. Pretty deep books that I haven't read. Then my logbook, which I do every so often during the cruise. And then I have more pens and paper. And then I've got these laminated cards, which again were given to me by an old instructor of mine that I worked for in COVID, and he died, so I now just keep in my bag. But basically it has, again, probably never going to look at it or use it, but it's got all the hydraulic system and everything you need to know for an Airbus. All about like the flight controls, like just amazing cheat sheets, by the way. That, you know, yeah. I just have had in my bag and I don't remove them, right? I just think maybe one day I'll need it. And then let's see if anything else is in there. Yeah, bit of rubbish paper from something I did. And then my final pocket, I have this thing. Again, another weird thing, right? And I've kept it in the same pocket. Why have I got so many superstitions? I actually don't. This little toy was from a Kinder Surprise egg. Why are you laughing? So, let me explain. When I did my final line check as a first officer at EasyJet 10 years ago, so I qualified to be an airline pilot, the captain I flew with, we're on a 4-set today, so the training captain gets off on the first 2 sectors and is like, right, you've passed, well done. And then I could do the rest of the day with the captain. I was a normal first officer. And he bought me a Kinder Surprise egg as a well done. So I ate it, and this was the toy that was in it. And I put it in my bag in 2016, and I've kept it in like this pocket, and it's just stayed there. And I went through my bag once to like clear it out like I do, and I saw it and I just thought, if I throw that away, like bad things are coming my way. So Kinder Surprise egg toy, a lucky pig, and my granddad's watch, and that is the real secret to success. Yeah, no pictures of my son or wife, but lucky pig, Kinder Surprise egg toy, that's why it all works out. Anyway, that's in my flight bag. I'm glad I did that because I need to clean it. But yeah, that is probably the end of this video. So we'll see what this week holds. Watch out on Instagram for my day in the life of pilot. See if I get called from standby. Otherwise, I'm going down to Faro and Leon. Is that it? What an easy week. I think that's it. I can't even remember now. But yeah, let me know in the comments below if you thought this was useful or whatever you want to see. And that's it. Thanks for watching, I guess. And the people say subscribe, subscribe.